You know, in the world of corporate law, there's this fascinating, kind of mind-bending rule that honestly feels more like a riddle. Imagine a puppeteer and a puppet. It's pretty simple, right? One is the actor, the other is just the tool. But what happens if the law accuses them of being the exact same thing? Well, that is the exact puzzle we're going to solve today. And that brings us right to the heart of the matter. It's this question: can a single company be both the criminal and the crime scene? I mean, it sounds completely impossible, but the answer to this actually reveals a really core principle of corporate accountability. So stick with me here. And look, this isn't just some theoretical brain teaser. This is a real challenge that courts grapple with all the time, especially in these high-stakes cases involving things like fraud and racketeering. It really all boils down to one simple question: how do you pinpoint the actual wrongdoer when the company itself seems to be the weapon? To solve this puzzle, the law has a very specific tool. It's called the person versus enterprise distinction. And I'm telling you, understanding this concept is the absolute key to unlocking this entire riddle. It's going to make everything click. Okay, so first, let's talk about the person. Now, in the legal world, a person isn't always a human being. It can be an individual, sure, but it can also be an entire corporation. The key thing to remember is that they are the active party, the one who's actually accused of doing the crime. They're the puppeteer, the one pulling all the strings. And then, on the other side of the coin, you have the enterprise. Now, this is the passive vehicle, the organization that is used to commit the crime. It's the tool, the instrument. In our little analogy here, this is the puppet itself, the thing that's being manipulated. So let's just lay it all out, side by side. You've got the person. That's your actor, your wrongdoer, the puppeteer. And then you've got the enterprise, the instrument, the tool, the puppet. The law absolutely demands that we see these two roles as separate. One acts and the other is acted upon. It's really that simple. And this brings us to the core rule. Let's just state it plainly. Under these anti-racketeering laws, the person and the enterprise must be two separate things. The law literally forces you to distinguish the puppeteer from the puppet. You simply cannot sue them as if they are one and the same. All right, so how does this whole theory play out in the real world? Let's dive into a fantastic case that illustrates this perfectly. It's called McDonough versus National Home Insurance Company. And this case puts that entire person versus enterprise distinction right under the microscope. So here are the basics. A plaintiff, McDonough, sued National Home Insurance. And their argument was incredibly bold. They didn't just claim that some bad stuff happened at the company. No, they claimed the company was the crime, that it was basically a machine built to commit fraud. And here we are, right back at our puzzle. The lawsuit essentially said that National Home Insurance was both the person who committed the fraud and the enterprise that was used to do it. This move forced the court to confront our central question head-on. So how in the world did the court handle this? Well, they pulled out that exact legal tool we just talked about, that person/enterprise distinction, and they put the plaintiff's whole argument to the test. The court's logic was just incredibly clean and clear. Let's trace it. Okay, step one. Who was the person, the alleged wrongdoer? National Home Insurance, got it. Step two, what was the enterprise, the criminal vehicle? Well, that was also National Home Insurance. The court looked at this and saw they were identical. And so when they applied the rule that the two have to be distinct, the whole claim just collapsed. It was, legally speaking, impossible. Really, the court's entire logic just boils down to this one powerful idea. A corporation simply cannot be both the puppeteer and the puppet in its own illegal show. That one sentence right there captures the whole spirit of this legal doctrine. And so the verdict was pretty straightforward. The case against National Home Insurance, at least as it was structured, was dismissed. The plaintiff failed to separate the actor from the instrument, and because of that one crucial misstep, their entire legal theory just fell apart. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a neat legal trick, but why does this actually matter in the grand scheme of things? Well, this rule isn't just about some legal technicality. It has a really important purpose when it comes to justice and corporate accountability. I mean, just look at what this rule accomplishes. First, it prevents these totally circular arguments, where a company is basically being sued for just being itself. But more importantly, it forces lawyers and prosecutors to be precise. It makes them target the specific directors or officers or employees, the actual puppeteers inside the company, who are using that corporate structure as their puppet. It's still about accountability, but it's about sharp, focused accountability. So the bottom line is this. The whole point of this rule is to make sure we punish the right people.
It forces the legal system to go after the individuals who corrupt a company for their own gain, not just the corporate tool they happen to use to do it.
And all of that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In today's world, corporations are these incredibly complex beasts, with parent companies and subsidiaries and affiliates all tangled together in a giant web. So the question becomes, can this seemingly simple distinction between the puppeteer and the puppet really hold up when things get that complicated? Now that's a puzzle the courts are going to be trying to solve for many years to come.